All right. Hello, everybody. We should be live again. I'm just going to double check the audio here as I usually do because I'm not a professional. Yep, looks good. Yeah, let me know if you guys have any issues hearing me or visually, whatever. Let me just update. I'm just updating the SADAR profile, CDAR, however you say it. For those of you that are new to the stock and are in the US, this is kind of Canada's filing, like a SEC filing type of website. And so this is usually where the documents are filed first, and then we will see them on their investor relations page after that. So that's why I'm kind of just on this page, and I'll just be periodically refreshing it. And when they do release, they'll come out here. Usually, it's between 2 and 2:30 Pacific time. So that would be for me 2 and 2:30. I'm on the West Coast. So yeah, hopefully we're not waiting a half hour here and you guys are just listening to me kind of ramble on. But basically, the way that I'm going to do it, once these earnings are up, we'll try to go to the press release first. That should have kind of our headline things, revenue for the quarter and things like that. Just be aware when I pull this up, and I don't want to freak everybody out, but like if people join right after I pull this up, but if you guys remember, or if you guys look at the previous quarters, just keep in mind when they do release it, right? They give us annual first, so don't look at that just and think like, oh, they made all that revenue in one quarter. Then they give us the quarterly. So when we look at the actual press release for the this quarter, the fourth quarter, a lot of it unfortunately is geared all towards annual, and we kind of have to tease out sometimes the quarterly numbers, or we have to dig through the report. They'll give us the headline stuff for the quarter on the actual press release there. Oh, okay. Wait, we got what is this? Annual information. This does not look like an earnings report. Let me see what this is. Sometimes also the stuff is weird downloading from here, so I have to kind of do some workarounds. It'd be much better if it was just on their website. Okay, annual information. Okay, so this is just some compliance stuff. It looks like probably year-end things. I could maybe dig through here and get some information, but I would imagine if that came out, we're very quickly going to get here some other documents. Let me just refresh this again. Okay, financial statements. All right, here we go, guys. This won't be this will give us the full year. Let me pull up. So what are we looking at so far? For revenue 3, so like 910.5. All right, let's pull this up. So basically subtract 10.5 from the numbers you see here because it'll be in annual. And then maybe we'll get the press release after this. Current assets. Okay, revenue. Remember, this is for the year. So 13.8. So it looks like we got about maybe just over 3 million. I have to do the math on that. Let me see if the press release is out, and that'll give us some more. Okay, where are we? No, that's other forms. Come on, just give us the press release so I don't have to do a bunch of math here. Okay, well, I'll just put this number into here. And hide that. We'll put this here. And we'll say equals this minus sum these three. No, what did I do wrong? Sum. Oh, sorry. I put that in the wrong spot there. Revenue is down here. Okay. All right, 3.3 million. Okay, 3.3, 3.4 million there for revenue. So not too bad. Definitely above, the 2.9 that analyst was saying. Like I said, I think he was sandbagging. I thought it was going to become between 3 and 4, and came right in there. Let me see if the press release is out. We can get some booking numbers or maybe some. Okay, here's the MD&A. Okay, the MD&A will give us bookings numbers. Let me get that out here, because that's really the bookings and the cash flow is really kind of what I'm interested. Now that we know the revenue was kind of just what we were expecting there. Let me dig. Okay, is this going to show us here? Business highlights, year end. I want to see quarterly. Is this not gonna? Yeah, this is why I want the press release, because otherwise we kind of got to do some math here. Okay, so business highlights for the year end 2025. Total contract value, new bookings, 38.5 million. Contractual backlog. Okay, let me see if total contract value of new bookings was 16.5 million. 16.5 million for the fourth quarter of fiscal 2025. Look at that. So solid number on the bookings there. Let's see. The total contract value of new bookings was 16.5 million for the fourth quarter of fiscal 2025, compared to 5.6 million for the same quarter 1 year ago. 195% increase on bookings. That is a record bookings for Xtract One. I think the previous record, if I am not mistaken, was Q2. That was 13. Yeah, we're looking at this line here. 13.5 million was the previous high. So that is a solid bookings number. Now I want to see where backlog also went from that bookings. Let me go to contractual backlogs, 15.5 million. 15.5 million as of July 31st. Interesting. So if I remember correctly, backlog is 15 million here. If they got, so a lot of that bookings is going to be signed agreements pending. So we're going to see a lot of those installations, it looks like, then coming in Q1. So like we were kind of expecting, a lot of this business is really being pulled into Q1 here, but the bookings number, 16.5 million, very solid for that. Let's see, the contractual backlog excludes an additional 34, there it is, 34 million in signed agreements pending, okay? So prior quarter signed agreements pending installation was 36. Oh, no, sorry, right here. I was looking at total. So 21, yeah, so you add the 16 million to that, or most of the 16 million in bookings got added to there, and we did get some revenue obviously from that. So a lot of these going to be trickling into the backlog and the revenue in Q1 and Q2 moving forward. Record annual revenue, 13.9 million for year end July. compared to 16 million. Recorded annual. I was going to say that's not record annual revenue. Gross margin. Ooh, for the year, what was the quarter? That's another one that I want to look at. Let's see. Let me go into here. I forgot to look at that gross. Let me go. I'll just go to their financials here. Gross margin. You know what? I'm gonna have to go to. I think it's like page 13 or so where they give us the quarterly numbers. 13 or 14. Here we go. Okay. Gross profit. Let me just do some quick math here. Gross profit was 2.4 million roughly, divided by revenue of 3,347. Again, they kind of round here. Wow. Wait, is that right? That's a gross margin of 71%. Let me see here. Let me look at that again. 2,384,000 divided by 3,347,000. Wow, if I'm doing that correct, which it looks like I am, and this is for, again, the quarter ending July 31st, that's Q4, 71% gross margins. That's only after they just started ramping one gateway. We're already up into the 71. Now, here is a quick caveat with that. Not to say that that's not great. That's phenomenal. But I wonder how many one gateways were installed this quarter. Because if a lot of these contracts are getting shifted to installation to next quarter, it would make sense that we had 71% gross margins if there were no one gateways installed, right? Then that would be like, well, okay, we're still ramping one gateway, but this quarter didn't have any of those, so that's why gross margin jumped up. If we did get any meaningful installations of one gateway, and we already have a 71% gross margin at this point in the production ramp of that would be phenomenal. That combined with these bookings, combined with revenue coming in just kind of like how we expected, I'm liking this so far. I'm going to dig through a little bit. I want to look at the cash flow. Let me see if there's any questions really quick. How much, what do we got? How much recurring revenue are we expecting for the quarter? It's hard they don't give out exact numbers. Basically, how I kind of roughly estimate the recurring revenue is they do give, let me just go to backlog here. Oh, where am I? So on the backlog metrics, if you look on the MD&A, they will usually give a backlog. Here we go. A number that they expect to recognize from the backlog over the next year or less than 1 year. It's not a perfect estimate because certain contracts are falling off and then they get renewed. So it's actually probably a slightly lower. But if you basically just divide that by 4, that gives you kind of your quarterly recurring revenue. So we're looking at like just under 2 million in quarterly recurring revenue. So to see the 3.5 million, that means most of that most of the 1.5-ish million that's on top of that would be upfront revenue, and the roughly 2, maybe just under 2 million of that is recurring from the contracts that they've already installed. Let's see here. What is this? 2 owns 52%. I don't know what you're talking about there. Sorry. Would it be possible to get access to your Excel file or a copy of it? Many thanks. We'll see. I have some things on the, I'm actually using Google Sheets, but basically Excel, yeah. That are kind of in the works, and not fully functional yet. Some estimating tools and whatnot that I don't want to be misleading if I give that out, but maybe a simplified version. I can do that. Let's look at cash flow though. I really want to check this cash flow here. We'll go to the financial statements, cash flow. Okay, cash flow. Unfortunately, this is going to be all full year. So what I am going to do is just take the cash at the end of the year is 8.2 million. So I'm going to just do some quick math here. Basically, I want to see if they're operating cash flow because I know that if we got 8.2 as of last quarter, cash was 1.9, but we had the offering, right? So we have to factor that out to see if they were really operating cash flow positive. And to really kind of dial it in, I have to kind of fill in all of these things here. And you guys don't have to sit there and watch me do that. So let me just quickly go. I do not want to restart now. Cash at the end of the year is 8.220089. And we're going to subtract cash net proceeds from the issuance of share capital, which is going to be 7187687. Right. And then there really wasn't any changes due to that one. Okay. So they had, what was it? 1.9. It looks like they had less than, they were not cash flow positive, but it was under a $1 million cash burn, which is only the second time we've seen that before, aside from Q2 of this year. So we are definitely trending in the right direction. I would want to, if again, that's some quick math. I gotta fill in all these numbers here, but you can see here overall. I mean, the net loss for the year, they have it at 400,000 right here. If you guys can see that, but then add in the financing, obviously, if you want to talk about like operationally. Oh, and I guess I should have factored in. Oh, you know what? Actually, it looks like it's very close to like $250,000. Okay, I'm gonna try to fill some of this in and maybe answer some questions along the way. Let's see, cash positive. Okay, so I'm working on that. It looks like they're actually very close to cash flow positive on this quarter here. What do we got here? What are the international sales? Good question. I think that's in MD&A, if I'm not mistaken. If we look at the geographies, geographic markets should be in, well, actually, I'll just search it this way. I know Japan is one of them. Okay, maybe it's not. Maybe it's in the financial statements. Okay, here we go. It's going to give me full year, though, unfortunately, again, so it's going to be hard to compare. Do I have... okay, so I have, again, I have it quarterly down here, but we can sum these and just see the difference roughly. Yeah. So let's do this. What do we got here? So for year end, revenue wise, okay, so the top one here is for July for this quarter. So we're looking at this one here. So United States 10.9. Let's see, can I shrink this and still show it? Should kind of be able to. Yeah. Okay. So this is what we had as of the last. If I pull that up again. Okay. So this is what we're comparing here. So US, most of this revenue was US that we got in the quarter. A little bit of it was Japan, and then Canada. UK is down. That's interesting. Or no, sorry, UK is up. So yeah, so basically, what do we got? Like 2.4, 2.3, 2.4 million from the US, about 2 million, 3 million from, or sorry, 300,000 or so from Canada, about 500,000, 500,000 from Canada. Sorry, let me go back here. About 2.3 from US, about 3 or so 100,000 from each Canada and Japan. UK was about 100,000 and only about 10,000 from France. But interesting that France is still continuing there. We'll have to check Anders again. I'll have to ask you exactly how you pronounce it, Anders or Anders. But not sure. I know there was speculation that some of that France revenue was from the Olympics and whether that was just a one-time thing and going to fall off. But it looks like it's not. And I forget whether we determined what that was in France or not. So that is the geographies breakdown. Let me see if there's any other questions here. My alarm goes what do you think? Let's see. What do you think? Will the price rise or fall tomorrow? Well, okay. So I have to dig through again and double check that cash flow. It's looking very close. I don't think it is cash flow positive, but it's looking like under a $500,000 dollar burn for the quarter. I have to go in operationally wise. We're not talking about taking into necessarily like finance and investing activities and whatnot, but operational cash flow or cash flow from operations. It's looking very close. If that is very close, we have revenue that came in pretty much within at least my expectations, beat the quote unquote other analyst, not quote unquote analysts, but quote unquote expectations from the other analyst. Again, I kind of thought, and I think I called that they were sandbagging a little bit, and we got the record bookings. So I think I pretty much nailed it if they come out with another article and they say raising a price target on record bookings and revenue beat, because that's exactly what I said that they would do if this happens or Tuesday when I did the report. So we'll have to see what happens there. That would be pretty funny. But I honestly think this is very solid. If you have close to cash flow positive, very close, it looks like. If you have record bookings, 16 million, over 16 million in bookings, and the revenue coming in line, and plus we know that because almost all of those bookings went into signed agreements pending, that means a large part of those were towards the end of the quarter. Most of not most of it, but a good chunk of that is probably going to be or already has been installed in Q1. It would be very interesting to see. I'll have to look through some of these earnings and some of these documents here and see if they give us anything in relation to Q1. I'm just going to really quickly double check here. Next, let's see. The company continues to invest in supply chain, has outstanding purchase obligations, 2 million. So I was trying to see if they have next quarter. Let me check here. Next quarter, that's next year, next fiscal year. I'll do some digging and see if they mention the first quarter. But I think if we do get anything, it'll probably be on the call tomorrow for guidance. But it would be really interesting. The reason I think it's really bullish that we're close to cash flow positive, it seems we are having record bookings. Revenue still came in decent, even though almost all of the bookings in this quarter went to signed agreements pending, meaning there is no revenue collected from them yet, and they have not been installed. Um, that bodes really well for the next couple of quarters. And so, to answer your question, personally, I did have a little extra cash that I have right now, and I didn't put it in because I wasn't sure about these earnings and what the reaction might be. If it isn't moving too much, even if it does move up a little bit tomorrow, I will probably add some shares tomorrow. Just my own personal opinion, not any sort of financial advice or recommendation. Let me see. See if there's any other questions. Incoming cash. Will there be any questions from you to Peter tomorrow? I hope so. I don't really. It's not like a planned thing. When I do that, I kind of just get into the queue of the questions, and as long as there's not a bunch of other people that I'm behind in the queue, hopefully I will get to ask at least one or two questions, and we can talk. I can go through and I'm going to look at these earnings, but you guys can give me your questions or things you might think would be interesting to know from this report, and I can maybe try to ask that tomorrow. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't see what you're talking about necessarily here, Rich. This is a very solid report from what I'm seeing. Again, I have to look through the cash flow and just verify some things there. If you guys want to hang out, I can kind of fill in my sheet there and we can really take a look at it. But I think this was a really good quarter, especially if we get some comments on the call setting up a nice quarter for Q1. I think this will be really good. Why do I not know? I don't know what that is. Let's see. How long? I hope soon. But this is probably not something that is going to just 10x overnight. I think honestly that's unhealthy anyway. A lot of the ones that do that are short squeezes, speculations, and stuff that really isn't going to last, and it's really hard to predict for investors, and it's just kind of a trade. This is an investment, so it may take a little bit longer, but you can check out my valuation video if you guys haven't checked that out. I think we're gonna do pretty well on this, but nobody should be necessarily, in my opinion, expecting this to be $5 a share by the end of the year or anything like that. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. So cash flow positive. This is a good question for anybody that is kind of unaware between the difference between profit and cash flow here. And let me just start to actually fill this in while I'm talking. I'll try to kind of multitask here, but cash flow positive. So cash flow positive is purely a measure of the cash going in and out, or cash flow, I should say, is purely a measure of the cash going in and out of the business every year. And so, or every quarter, or whatever kind of time frame you're looking at. Whereas profit is different. So profit, you can actually kind of see. Let me put this in here. So you can see on the income statement, for example, right? we have, if we look at last quarter, right? Um, there's all sorts of expenses, right? There's cost of revenue, there's selling and marketing, there's general administrative, but within those expenses are things that aren't actually cash that is spent. And so in the cash flow statement, right? That's where you kind of account for that. So you start with this loss here, right? And so what I'm kind of doing here is getting the loss for this quarter, which is 3513278. Let me just verify that on the quarterly one here. Let's see, net loss 3513. Okay, perfect. So I have the actual not rounded one. And then what you do after you have the net loss is you account for all of those different non-cash things. And after you kind of take out all of that, then you end up with the true cash that came in or went out of the business. And obviously, in the case of Xtract One, because they are not yet cash flow positive, there's always a net negative change in cash. What I'm particularly interested in is this cash used in operating activities. You can see here, Q2 was very close to cash flow positive. I'm going to fill in some of these. Where's the financials here? And I am going to just bear with me for a second. I'm going to pull these in and I'll try to answer some questions while I'm doing it here. What about the Master Supply Agreement Global Organization? It may, so this Master Supply Agreement may very well have contributed. We don't know. They don't tell us necessarily the specifics on which contracts were contributing necessarily to the different revenue that they got. So we don't know. But yeah, like you said, it must have been. That's a good point, though. It must have been in one of those 5 countries, so it kind of narrows it down for us there. Press release is out. Okay, I'll check out the press release, but I think, well, actually, the press release will probably tell me if they were cash flow positive. Let's see if it does tell me if they're cash flow positive or operating cash flow positive. Otherwise, I'll just take a couple minutes to fill out that sheet there. Full year results, total backlog nearly 50 million. Company expects acceleration in fiscal 2026. Overall, the future of a company looks bright, and we are on track for fiscal 2026 to be our best year. Well, I would hope so. For fiscal 2025. Okay, so that's the year. Let's look at the quarterly ones. Quarterly revenue 3.3. Okay. Versus 5.6. Gross margin of 71%. Yeah, gross margin, phenomenal. Now, I do want to know, were there any One Gateways installed in the quarter? If there were any meaningful amount of One Gateways installed in the quarter, that gross margin is phenomenal. That means that we're going to see probably well into the mid, maybe even upper 70% for gross margin. And that could be huge going forward for profit and cash flow and things like that. 16.1 million for bookings. We know that. Comprehensive loss. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's anything about cash flow here. Let me just double check. Oh, okay. It gives the actual cash flow statement in the press release. That's fine. Let's see. Okay. I am going to just fill this in then really quickly here. So just bear with me for a second, because I really am interested on this cash flow here, what they did. and what is causing different things. Because one of the things about the cash flow is digging into the actual numbers of why it happened is also informative too, because if they were cash flow positive purely because they recognized all of their outstanding receivables that had been outstanding for a while, but that's not necessarily going to happen again because now they have no receivables, then it's not indicative of that being a trend. Whereas if they're cash flow positive purely because or because of just the general operations, right, then that is a really good sign for the company. So let's see, 321003. Okay, so you can see we're down here. So you can see after these adjustments, right, we're down to 2.7. Obviously, that's higher. So again, we're going to be looking for some deferred revenue here potentially, which looks like it did actually jump up. This will be interesting. So let me just add this in here. 2313323. 1374. And again, apologies to you guys. Have to watch me type in some numbers for a couple minutes here. But unless one of you guys knows where they break out the cash flow quarterly in the report, I think this is how we're going to have to do it. This is a negative. This is a negative. Just a couple more numbers here and we'll see what the cash flow was. 265,837. Then we have negative 977. 276. So that's a big number actually for accounts payable. And then we have 2003964. Okay, so it's looking like, let me just sum this really quick. It's looking like I was off a little bit here, but still only about a 1 million. It was about when I first saw it that said about $1 million or less than $1 million. That was really what I was looking at. I saw the cash used in investing activities, and I think I accidentally counted subtracted that essentially when that's actually kind of being added to the loss there. But it looks like if I'm doing this, this is 8.1. Let me just match this up here to what they show to make sure I didn't type in anything wrong. 67. So there is one. What is that? 23. 137. It's negative 2693. Eight two. Is there something here? 10. Oh, this is why. Sorry, guys. See, this is why I'm not a professional at live streams. Let me just do this. There we go. Okay. Okay. Come on. Six, 7, 4. Okay, what is this doing here? 2, 3. Okay. That is more like it. 2.9. So this is that. Yeah. So just under a million. Again, I'll have to double check some things here. I hate doing this live here because I'm kind of under the gun and I'm trying to answer some questions and look at the earnings and type this in. So I could be missing some things. So cash flow, we'll set that aside for now. It's looking like, if these numbers are correct, basically just under a million of cash burn operationally wise, which is great. I mean, it can, in comparison to last quarter, but I will go and I will do a little bit of a digging and rework this after I get off the stream here, and I will post on the Discord exactly what I figure out numbers wise for cash flow. So apologies for kind of the mess there, but unfortunately, we don't get the actual quarterly breakout of the cash flow, which would be nice to have. Um, if you guys know if that's in the financials, I don't think it is, but let me know. Let's see. Let's look at some more questions here. Delmar International. Okay, that might be the French customer there. Let's see. Gross margin 71% for the fourth quarter of fiscal 2025 versus 65% the prior quarter. Yeah. What's more impressive to me, even though, is from 57% just last quarter. And again, we'll really have to see, were there any one gateways installed in the quarter? And that will tell us exactly how impressive that gross margin number is. But either way, very good to see. Let's see. Are you still targeting 30 million revenues for 2026 fiscal year? I would say that's looking very possible. I would say that based on these numbers here, for a lot of those signed agreements pending, what was that, like 16 million that we just booked, right? So we now have signed agreements pending. What was that? Where's the press release here? Signed agreements pending is, let's find it. Okay. Do they not have? Oh, did they just give total backlog numbers on here? Oh, here we go. They don't actually say signed agreements. 34 million in signed agreements pending installation. That's a huge backlog of just agreements that are already signed that just need to be installed that they can pull from. That's not including any new business that they have to go out and get necessarily. This is just contracts that have already been signed. They're in the works, they're scheduled, but they just have not been installed yet, right? And so just that alone there is 34 million of revenue. Now, a portion of this, probably at least close to half, is subscription contracts. So, and even the upfront contracts, about a third of that value is subscription. So probably anywhere from, well, I'm just guessing there, so I don't want to give out any numbers necessarily, but a good portion of that is probably subscription that we're not going to get all in the next year. But we could very well get, a third of that revenue, and then they'd only have to do really another new 20 million in revenue on top of that. So they're setting themselves up to make $30 million in revenue next year. Very, very possible. She announced a new client. You'll have to, I can go back through here, but I don't know who she is. But you can let me know, Anders. No worries. Page 5, revenue related to smart gateway product. Oh, did they break it out? Accounted for 13 million for the fiscal year 2025. This matches reported revenue for the year, so no revenue from one gateway. Let me double check that. Page 5 of, I'm assuming, the MD&A. Let's see. Let's just search that. Revenue related. Okay, here we go. During the year, continuous progress, blah, blah, blah. Revenue related to Smart Gateway product amounted to $13.9 million for the fiscal year 2025. And revenue for full year was 13.9 million. Interesting. So I will have to look into that and double check that, because I know for a fact that there were some one gateways installed, and we did get some revenue from one gateway in the last quarter, and that is really the main reason that we saw the drop in gross margin. So that's interesting. I'll have to dig through the report here and double check some things there. Let me see. Hopefully we get some nice new for guidance. Yeah. Let's see. Delmar International. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see any thing about. Let's see. I don't see anything about Del Mar International. I'll have to look into that, unless you want to. I don't know if you can put a link in the chat, but if you can, you can do that, and I can check it out. So let me just kind of make sure that I've gone through everything. So we talked about revenue, talked about bookings, cash flow. I need to double check again. Apologies for the confusion on that. We got gross margin. We got signed agreements. Let's just see if they give us anything for next quarter here. Oh, okay. This is interesting. So I'll zoom in here so you guys can see better. So right here says during fiscal 2025, the company signed contracts with 9 new customers worth over 13.1 million for Xtract One Gateway, serving a variety of markets including education, healthcare, manufacturing, and commercial enterprises. Interesting. So yeah, remember what was it, like June or so, where they mentioned the 6.7 million, I believe it was, in contracts related to one gateway. So they've basically doubled that to now 13 million in signed contracts for one gateway, and that is with a total of 9 different customers. So the one gateway is definitely got some demand for it there, setting us up nicely. And so again, we can also kind of tease that out and look and say, okay, well, if they did, where are we at here? If they did 16 million in bookings for this quarter, right? And you probably, that was as of June. So you can, I guess that would have been probably, it was probably right around the start of Q4 or so that we got that information. I can go back and look. But essentially what that means is about probably 6 million or so of this, maybe close to half of this is one gateway, which means the other half is smart gateway, which means smart gateway is still, you know, bringing in a decent amount of bookings here. It actually accelerated smart gateway bookings. If I'm kind of analyzing that correct, let me just type in extract one. I think it was 6.7 million. Forget whether that was a press release. Here we go. Yeah, June. So they announced in the beginning of June that they had approximately 6.7 million from 5 different customers as of June. So it's possible that some of that was in Q4. Some of that 6.7 million was in Q4, but I would imagine because they announced the one gateway all the way back in September of the previous year, probably some of those contracts were signed before. So okay, maybe say like half of these contracts were signed, let's say in Q4. That would give us then maybe what 10 million or so. So maybe like 3 or 4 million. That'll be a good question on the earnings call. I don't know if they'll be willing to give us that information. But maybe 3 or 4 million of this 16 million was smart gateway, depending on when those contracts were signed. It would be kind of interesting to know what the split is there and where the demand is for each one right now. So that's interesting. Let me just go through and see what else we can find here really quickly. Let's see. During the fiscal 2025, company reassessed the segment reporting and determined that previously disclosed operating segments platform and Xtract no longer meet the thresholds. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Smart gateway. It's facilitated product development, support increasingly complex environment. Extract one view. Launches one gateway. Okay, and then we get into the market opportunity, which we all know the market opportunity. That's why we're in the stock. Okay, so I think that's mostly what I'm going to go over on this live stream here. And I will kind of, again, dig through the cash flow, and I will post on the Discord what the actual operating cash flow was for that quarter once I have the finalized number there. And we can go over that. And yeah, so let me just summarize this really quick. I'll double check any questions that I have missed, and we'll end it off here, and I can go do some math. So overall, revenue, I think, came in just as we expected, right? 3.3, 3.4 million. It's kind of what I was saying, between 3 and 4. And we got, either the sandbag or the underestimate from Ventum Capital there. So revenue, kind of right in line with expectations. Bookings, I would say, beat expectations personally. I was, thinking maybe like 10 to 12. So 16, phenomenal. I think that is a very solid bookings number there. Gross margin, I think, is really great to see it back up in the 70% range. It will be, again, interesting to see it looks like from that release or from that note on page 5 that maybe we didn't get any gateway installations in Q4, which would somewhat explain or make that gross margin a little less impressive, but still, we know then that Smart Gateway is still a very good margin product. 71% for Smart Gateway is phenomenal. And we likely know that once one gateway gets ramped up, it will probably have a higher margin even than Smart Gateway. So we could very well see once we finalize this ramp here and really get production going and installations of one gateway, we could very well see the mid 70s as far as gross margin, which is also going to really change the valuation numbers, because remember, I was being a little conservative, and I think now maybe even very conservative, because in my last valuation video, I was giving them an average gross margin, I think, of 65%. And I think especially once we get the one gateway ramped up, that will be actually a very low estimate. And we're going to have much more gross profit, which is going to contribute to more profit and more cash flow. So yeah, we got revenue, we got bookings, we got gross profit, cash flow. I will double check. Geographies look the same. So again, we know the customers that they've installed for are within those geographies that we already got. So that kind of narrows some things down. Again, though, I guess the global entertainment company is global, so theoretically they have other locations, but you would assume that the installations would happen at one of their core or headquartered type of venues. But we'll have to see. So I think overall, my opinion, revenue, right? Came in line with our expectations. Bookings, very good, bullish. Gross profit, gross margin, bullish. The fact that we have signed agreements pending and we still got that revenue, or the fact that basically all of the bookings didn't contribute to revenue at all for this quarter and will likely contribute a decent amount to next quarter, very bullish. Yeah, overall, and cash flow. I think even if I'm right on the cash flow there, and we're looking at under $1 million loss, or under $1 million operating burn right here, that means that all we have to do really is get revenue of another few million, and we do the same thing we did last quarter, and you're looking at a cash flow positive quarter, right? So I think they have a very, very good shot. Again, I'll rework this. Don't necessarily give a ton of credit to that right now. That number might change a little bit, but I think we're looking at a very, very good chance of being either very close to or actually cash flow positive, operating cash flow positive for Q1. So it will be very interesting on the call to see what they say. Hopefully they give us some information about the upcoming quarter. Let me just go through, see if there's any more questions. Let's see, 13 million was signed for one gateway. We already knew of 6 of those customers. We already knew of 5 of those customers from that announcement there. So yeah, 5 different customers as of the beginning of June, and that 6.7 million number. And now, where was I? Back up here. I think there was 9 customers. Where am I looking? One gateway. Where did it go? Right here. Company has signed contracts with 9 new customers for now a total of 13.1 million. So we went from 5 to 9. So we added 4 new customers, and yeah, divide whatever, another 6.5, $6.4 million between them. So yeah, I mean, one gateway is showing really great demand. I think one gateway is starting to do exactly what we all kind of expected it to do. And the very interesting thing is we're not just looking at education here. We're looking at education, healthcare, manufacturing, and commercial enterprises. I'm assuming that's like corporate offices, things like that, or potentially, yeah, probably corporate offices. Maybe that Fortune 100 company. So yeah, again, great bookings, great gross margins, revenue, but revenue combined with the fact that none of the bookings contributed to really any revenue this quarter, really bullish for the coming quarter or coming quarters. And yeah, cash flow continuing to decline and getting close. So overall, I think this was a great quarter, guys. Personally, let me know in the comments, I guess, or in the Discord, and we can chat. What you guys think. If you think I missed something, I'm sure the Discord is going to be very busy over the next 24 hours when we analyze all this information. And then on the call tomorrow, I will not be streaming the call tomorrow because I will be at work, my day job. But hopefully, I can sneak away long enough to ask a couple questions on the call and listen to that and kind of give you guys my thoughts. So other than that, I think that's all I've got. Thank you guys for tuning in, asking all the questions, watching the channel. I really appreciate it. Yeah, other than that, we'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow. Ask some questions on the call and have a great rest of your day. We'll see you guys next time.